Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Cynical Marketers. Thank you for joining us. We are episode 78, season 2. It's 26 in season 2, so we are marching right along. And today, we're going to talk Tech Bro decision. If you saw this, Nada shared this with me, and I know this has been going around, but the CEO of Bolt AI recently was on stage at an event and said that he fired his entire HR department, and then all of the problems seem to just go away magically. So, I don't know. Is it a case of like they were causing the problems, or now there's no one to tell you the problem? So that's why it looks like they've gone away. Because the internet reacted in both ways.
I think it's an interesting choice to fire your HR department.
Yeah. Yeah. And he said, because they have gone down in value, they've had a massive issue there. They used to have a really massive valuation, and I'm not going to quote the numbers because I don't have them directly in front of me, and you don't care anyway if you're listening. But they've lost a crap load of value and are in trouble. So he said that they need to take the company back to kind of startup mode, and that a lot of the folks that they have there were used to being comfortable in a larger corporate environment and not in a startup mode. And I know from experience that they are two very different things. Working in a startup and working for big corporate are two very different things.
And things that you get away with at a startup are things that are illegal most of the time, or at least would cause some red flags and concerns for folks that have, fully established HR department.
So I get it always kills me in businesses who have an HR department. Like, how many do you have? And they'll always say well, you have to have somebody for this and for this and for this and for this. And I did a joke image a year or two ago about introducing people at your company to the different departments. And you're like, here's our HR department. It's full of people. And then way down at the end is the marketing guy,
Just one dude.
Yeah, it's just one person. You got 8 people in HR. There's 12 purchasers, 28 people in operations.
But you have an interesting perspective on this, Mike, because I think what most people don't realize is that your master's is in human resources.
I am an HR guy, kind of.
So you had spent some time not just studying this, but also working in HR. And
I was actually so at Gruntstyle, actually, what people may not know or realize is when I started at Gruntstyle, I was actually the director of human resources.
Yeah.
And I was called what Dan called me as the first adult hire.
Yes. Well, and the fact that it's a first adult hire that is in HR, says everything about the growth of the company.
Immediately.
Because for anybody that's never worked in a startup is all hands on deck. We're making this thing happen come hell or high water, right? Like we are doing everything that we can to get this business to grow. You're not always the most politically correct bunch. You're not always following all the rules. You're not you're just operating in a different space. When I started at Gruntstyle, the running joke was that I'm a token immigrant hire, because everybody was civilian immigrant hire, right? Because everybody was mostly everybody at the time that I started, I was 50 some employee. Everybody was a veteran, right? And so you could not say that in a company that has a full HR department. You just can't. You would not be able to. It wasn't.
And I didn't. That was you guys out on the floor saying that stuff.
I didn't think.
I didn't know.
What I'm saying though is for somebody that is like me, I'm not. That doesn't offend me because it's all factually correct.
Yeah.
So what am I going to be offended about? But it's stuff like that where as soon as you get an HR department, right? That's the stuff that stops. The culture has to change. It has to be appropriate to HR because the company is growing and you are become more liable. There is a difference between having 50 employees and 500 employees. There's a difference between a 5 people startup and 505 people in, you know, a company that has venture capitalists and people who want to get paid back, and, you know, which is what Bolt is, all of these AI companies,
Yeah.
right? Like they're not playing around with their own money. They
Right.
have investors. So to fire your HR team is a choice.
Yeah, so when I started at Grunt Style, and that place we were at, it was on Remington. It was before the big facility, and it was a frat house.
Yeah.
When I started, it was shocking because I came from the restaurant business, where the restaurant business, the amount of sexual harassment and inappropriate behavior that happens just on any given day in the restaurant business would shock most people. It's just constant.
Yeah.
You know, and it's employees doing it to each other for the most part. But, you know, it's so I was even like, when I started at Grunt Style, I'm like, oh my gosh. And so, you know, the issue is you start to grow as a business then. And then, yeah, early on as a startup, okay, somebody's going to sue you for what? We don't have any money. Go ahead. Right. But then you start getting big, and now you have money. And now you're going to start hiring people too who aren't connected to the poor times of the company. Right. They're going to come in and they only know this company as everyone has a company credit card. We do cool, fun things. They think that there's just buckets of money everywhere. And you're going to hire people who do see that as, it's an opportunity for me. I'm waiting for them to do something, you know? So that is what HR, everyone's always says HR is not a friend of the employee. And I'm like, no, they're not, but I'm also not really the friend of the owner. I'm here to keep the company from being sued. And most of the time what that means is I'm trying to protect the employees, because it's employees who are going to sue. So I'm trying to do things to protect them from dumb decisions that managers will make. Right. You know, but that's why when you grow, I just always find it so fascinating how quickly an HR department just grows and grows and grows and adds more and more people, where you don't do that. Marketing never gets that. You know,
right.
You talk to the HR people and you're like, oh, I do payroll. Oh, I do benefits. Yeah.
And then you have like one IT guy and one marketing person.
Yeah. I do recruiting.
Right.
You know, like what? Yeah. What? Do it all. Yeah. Right. And then then you got the guy down at the end of the hallway in the cave. That's marketing.
Yeah.
I know.
And then on the opposite side of the building is one dude that's IT. Like those are the departments that never grow in small businesses. It's interesting though, like the Bolt CEO saying, I fired my HR team. And he said, I have operations, which by the way, operations and HR are not the same thing. Let's be honest. Yeah. So, you know, I fired my HR team. And then I think that's not even if that was the end of the sentence, I'd be like, well, that's a choice. But then he said, then all the problems we had disappeared. So I have so many questions. Like, what were the problems that you had? How many
what's
problems
going on?
Were there? Whose problems were they? Like, were employees coming to HR to file complaints about your company and you just didn't want to hear it? So you fired the entire department that would then tell you that your employees are complaining? Like, what do you mean all the problems disappeared?
I can imagine I can imagine the problems, especially they're a California company. So we're Illinois. So Illinois and California are pretty similar for employee law. California's worse. In the HR world, actually, you get certifications for California separately because they're so much worse there. But I can imagine, because as you grow, you have to start systematizing things where when you're a startup, it's just like, hey, man, you suck at your job. You got to go. Right. But now we got 100-something employees and you can't do that anymore. There has to be a paper trail, and we've got to have performance reviews, and there have to be PIPs, and there's got to be all these things. And then there's going to be complaints about, you know, hey, John over there, he gets to come in late because his kid has soccer practice in the morning. Why don't I get to come in late? I want to work from home now 3 days a week or whatever, right? Like more people, more problems, more headaches, more special requests. I get it. And then HR is like, you have to accommodate all of this. And you're like, hey, man, I just want to work. We just want to run a business.
But I get that, Mike. But at the same time, I'm just like, So if you're an investor funded company, like most of these AI folks are, right? Like they all have venture capitalists, money coming in and stuff. Like you're to fire your entire HR team, not just like saying like we downsize the HR team, and hand it over to operations who is not qualified. These are not the same qualifications. Like you
I
and
think he
I could
put it
wait.
in operations because is it like it's people, it's the people process, people something now, right? He just changed the name.
But he said like he gave it to his ops department. Now
Yeah,
ops are in charge of things. And so in any company that I've ever worked at, there's definitely a distinction between ops and in HR,
right.
right? And so to me, Mike, like just to say, for example, like if you and I were both placed in HR roles, there is no, I could probably wing it. I'll probably have to Google some things, chat GPT some things, figure it out, right? Whereas like, you would at least know where to go look up information. You would know what certificates you need. You would know what the company needs to do of a certain size, what type of benefits they're required to offer. Because for example, in Illinois, if you have, I think it's like 5 full-time employees or something like that, or even part-time employees, you have to start offering benefits.
Yeah.
Right? Like you have to offer certain benefits, like a 401k, if you not health insurance necessarily up until a certain point number of employees also. So there are rules. There's HR people out there for a reason. To say you fired an entire HR department and all your problems have gone away sounds like what you did is just lift the rug and sweep it under
Yeah,
the rug. And
it doesn't sound
until
good. Yeah.
until ish hits the fan, and then it's going to be like, oh crap, we're going to now need lawyers, right? So
Yeah, probably. I would imagine, and I am sure they're out there in California. There are attorneys already, and there's employment law sharks circling around that company right now.
Oh, I'm sure.
I'm sure looking for cases.
Because I know I cannot.
Because I think even if their valuation's down to 100 million or something, that's still 100 million bucks, which I think it's
right.
They're panicked over because they were much bigger.
Yeah. Well, and I think all these companies are coming back with valuations that are much, less.
Oh, they're nuts. I think most of the valuations on AI companies in particular are just, I don't know what they're based in, and I'm not a finance person.
Right. And I don't know, like to me, it's what these tech bros and these AI companies are saying. It's what I don't like about it, Mike, is like basically like, oh, well, you don't need you don't need marketing anymore. AI will do it. Well, now this AI company says we don't need HR anymore. And it's starting to kind of strip away basic things that are functions of a growing business.
Mm-hmm.
There isn't, how come Nike's out there and they have a whole HR department? There's a reason for this. You know what I'm saying? Like it's wild to me how they operate, and they sit in front of a mic on a big stage and they say the absolute dumbest stuff. And then people hear that, and some small business somewhere is going to hear it and say, well, if Bolt doesn't need HR, we don't need HR.
Yeah. I don't know I'm wondering if others would, because my thought too, mostly what HR is there for as well, it's, it's an affirmative defense. And this is what, why everyone hates these classes, right? Why do you have to go do a class on 8 hours of sexual harassment? And you're sitting there and this class is so stupid. Like, oh my gosh, it's so silly, such a waste of time. It's required because I can show that I put you in this class, you went through it, you signed that you understand it. I have.
Yep.
Now it doesn't necessarily protect me from everything, but it gives me my first defense as a company that says we train these people on what they are allowed to do and not allowed to do. Right. He chose to go sexually harass another employee, not my fault. And as soon as I found out, I dealt with it, right? So now you're just trying to keep liability off the company. And that's why you have to do most of the things. If you read it in a handbook, company handbooks, like at Grunt Style, when I first started, it was like a sheet, and then it grew and grew and grew, but that always happens at every company. Your employee handbook happens because of one employee. Every rule in your employee handbook came from one employee doing something.
Yep.
You know,
and it's and you know, some of it is standard, and I think people are like so used to it. If you're like, I've spent most of my career in corporate, right? So like in larger corporate settings, and so I'm used to those things, right?
Yeah.
It's the sexual harassment classes, it's, you know, all these like, you know, biometrics, data collecting, punching in, out, that type of stuff, right? Like there's new hire orientation at every place that basically tells you like what you are and you're not allowed to do, like with your badge and your access and all these different things, like what you can use your computer for, what you're not allowed to use your computer for, you know? And I think those things are in place for a reason. And when you go and say, like, I fired the entire department and all the problems went away, I'm like, oh, okay. Like, we're the next couple of months, I feel like we're just going to see an entire docket full of lawsuits.
We'll see. Because we'll see.
That's a choice.
Like you said earlier, like, I wonder what were these problems that went away? Because it's unlikely they really went away, but.
No, they didn't. Where would they go?
Because then it looks like, so did you have employee problems and now what? You laid off a bunch of people, then you laid them off. So was it retaliatory, terminations? Yeah. I mean, I don't know. That's why I said I'm sure there's attorneys circling around that company right now with their mouths watering, thinking of their settlement checks that they're going to get a third of, I'm sure there's attorneys circling. Listen, or like what I used to have to deal with when I was HR, like somebody's like, my aunt's going to call you. And you're like, okay, have your aunt call me, and her aunt isn't it? My aunt's an attorney. She's a real estate attorney.
She's a paralegal.
She is an attorney. She doesn't know employment law, and it's very different. And I know.
It's just such an interesting choice, Mike. And I think we live in this space right now where these AI companies have overtaken a lot of the, they're out there making a lot of noise. And then I wonder, like, I mean, even before this, we talk about rage bait all the time. Even before this, like how many times we haven't talked about Bolt one time?
No.
I haven't even heard anything on the news about them in like over a year. And then all of a sudden this idiot is on stage talking about he fired his entire HR department, and he and everybody's like, oh my God, did you hear about what they did? And why would they do that? And like you said, the internet is divided. It's like, oh, it's either like, screw HR, or, it's like, oh my God, these are lawsuits waiting to happen. Right. Like,
which I thought the response from the internet was funny too, because normally when you see anything about HR on the internet, everybody hates HR. Right. I've worked for the two things everybody hates the most, because everybody hates HR and everybody hates marketing. True. But normally that's what it is. Everyone would be like, don't go to HR with your problems. HR is there for the company. HR is for the man, right? But now you have people like, oh, okay, fire HR. Now what? Now people don't have anyone. Like, wait a minute. So you like them now? Like, what? I never know with the internet what to expect.
I just think it's an interesting, I don't know what else he said at this conference, right? This is the clip that's gone viral. Yeah. This is the first time I think I've probably seen this dude's face anywhere, right? So like, it's just, I think it's interesting. It's like, what a way to have conversations about his company, right?
We've said this before about these guys though, like Gary Vee and Grant Cardone. Right. They're not going to get invited to talk if they don't. Now I bet his speaking calendar is full, right? Like, because now all the other events want to get this guy on stage because he's hot. And if we'll get clips from our event that are going to go viral, we look at all the views we can get if we get this guy on our podcast or on our stage at our next event, right? Like if you go out there and say anything like, things are tough, but we're doing our best. Right. You're not coming back. You got to have a hot take.
Yeah. Yeah.
He wanted to generate some media for himself. So this is what he did. He did it.
And he did. Job well done.
He did it. He got a bunch of earned media. Now everyone's talking about Bolt.
Yeah. So are we, I guess. Okay, we could be done talking about them.
Yeah, I think that was good. We went. Our goal was 10. We went to 20, but okay.
It's okay. So it's a full episode, not a quickie this time.
Yeah, it was
And
a
you all tell
full.
us if anybody is still here. Tell us what you think about HR teams. I mean, Mike's favorite character in terms of, some of the stuff that we post out there is Helen from HR. And listen, we're not like we only hate on HR when it comes to giving marketing criticism. But
It's always
But,
HR.
you know,
HR has more opinions than anyone else on what to do in
than
marketing.
anyone else on all the things.
And it's typically too,
you know.
here's always, I know we're running late now, but here's the funny thing. In small
That's fine.
businesses, right, when the owner's like, hey, we want to hire you guys because we don't have anyone doing marketing. You're like, yes, you do. Somebody's doing it there. Like, he's like,
Mhm.
kind of, it's Helen in HR, you know?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, she's going to be
That
mad.
counts.
He's going to be
That
mad.
counts, believe it or not.
And I
Yeah.
always thought it was funny that these other people do these jobs and they're like, no, I love doing this. I have, I'm like, so you have time to do this other job too? Like, what do you do in your main job, the one you're being paid for? How do you have all this time to do this other stuff?
You know,
Are you
it is
not
a
doing your
choice.
other job?
It's a choice for sure. So,
Yeah.
yeah. But let us know what you guys think.
Yeah, let
because
us know,
I think
please.
hiring an entire HR team is a choice. Be interested to see a couple months down the road what happens with that.
We'll see.
So.
We'll be watching. All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Look for us soon and check us out on the platforms. We'll have clips out there. So go follow us. You can find us. We'd appreciate
Yeah, follow and subscribe.
it. Later.
Bye, guys.